What's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be ranking all 31 Overwatch heroes according to how good they are in the new competitive Capture the Flag mode. Now, this video is based off my own personal experience. Nothing I say is a fact, it's all opinion. Without further ado, let's start the tier list. Alright, so starting off, we'll rate the GOATS characters. So I think they are all A tier, except for Lucio. I'll put Lucio in S tier. And here's why. Lucio is kind of transcendent in this game mode. He is almost necessary for every comp, whether you're running GOATS, whether you're running Pharmacy, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. Lucio is kind of almost necessary. Who am I missing? Brig? Yeah. So, Lucio does great in solo queue games, in, duo, trio, 6 stacking, whatever. Lucio is necessary in Capture the Flag. Whereas the GOATS characters, kind of really only good in GOATS. Sure, you might want to run like Ryan Zarya, but it's not necessary, whereas Lucio 100% necessary. Next up, we'll put Pharmacy in B tier. Now, personally, from like my own experience, I love Pharmacy, and I put them in my own heart S tier, but I know they're not that great. And when you're running when you're running against GOATS, or if you're running on specific maps like Ayutthaya, or what's the other one, Oasis University, Pharmacy's not the best. GOATS easily destroys them on those maps. That's why I put Pharmacy in B tier. Interesting thing about Pharmacy is you can run it on Ilios Ruins, whereas in normal comp, Pharmacy is pretty bad on Ilios Ruins due to the prevalence of Widow. However, Widow's not that great in this mode. Plus, on Ilios Ruins, you can kind of take the game slowly as Pharah, get the angles you want, and then play the game your way. Whereas in normal competitive, you can't do that. A quick note for why I like Pharmacy as B tier. Pharah can use her jump jet, or not her jump jet, her hovers, her boosters, whatever the fuck they're called. She can use her boosters, plus she can use rocket jumping, and she can still hold onto the flag. Whereas other characters use their mobility abilities and end up dropping the flag. So Pharah is one of the best squishy flag carriers. Next up to the B tier is Mei. So Mei is similar to Pharah in the fact that she dominates on certain maps, like Ayutthaya and Oasis University. However, she's not as viable on something like Legion Garden, which is why I would personally play Pharmacy. Mei is great because she has a wall to separate teams. She has a ton of sustain. The ability to slow down people in this game is great. Ton of CC. Teams generally stick together so that you can capitalize on the freezing, whereas competitive tends to be a little more, a little more split up in some of the lower ranks. So Mei is a solid B tier character. Next up, we'll take Torb. Torb's ass, bro. Torb and Sim, y'all are ass. Now, you might think, oh, turrets are good for defense. I'm going to sit back with my turret and defend the flag. It's fucking useless, bro. Every time I see a Torb and Sim in my team, I think to myself, alright, we're fighting 5v6 while someone in our own base sits there with his turret and thinks he's doing a job. It's not how that works. Having a Torb or Sim in your team, unless your Sim is providing good teleporter value, often won't push up, and often will just end up playing very defensive and won't help you take flags. They're not the best characters. Next up, we'll put Winston on the list, and I'll put him in D tier. He's not great. He does low damage. He has mobility on a 6-second cooldown, which isn't bad. But he's a big body. He doesn't do anything to the most prevalent characters, which is GOATS. Even Pharmacy does well against them. When he has the flag, he can't jump, so he's just walking. His ultimate also can't jump with his ult when he has the flag. So he's not a good flag carrier. He's decent at initiating, but unless your team super follows up, he's going to die when he initiates. So putting Winston D tier. Next up is Baptiste. Now, Bap, I'll put C tier. Now, this is post patch, so his lamp only lasts 5 seconds, not 8 anymore. Baptiste's playstyle doesn't seem to fit Capture the Flag very well. He's not a mobile character. He doesn't really benefit a ton from speed boost, from brawling. He's more, long range, pokey kind of playstyle, which is better for comp, not so much Capture the Flag. So I'll put him C tier. His ultimate can still be kind of useful. Zoning, if you put it facing the flag, that double damage for 10 seconds or whatever is very valuable to kind of clear the point and give you guys the flag. But what happens after that, who knows. Next up is Doomfist. Man, I'll put Doomfist in D tier. I was gonna put him in E tier, but then I remember Doomfist can still get kills. He can still pop off in this game mode. Again, this is post patch, so his uppercut takes a little longer, but Doomfist can still get kills in this game mode. He's just not a good flag carrier at all, because he's walking. He can't use any abilities, or else he drops a flag. His left click is useless if you're not able to close the gap, which his abilities help him do. Which again, if you use abilities, he drops a flag. So Doomfist in D tier, not a very good pick. Alright, next up, we'll look at Roadhog. Now, personally, I would put him in A tier. However, since Goats is there, and I think he's just one notch below Goats, I'll put him in B tier. Now, in my own games, Roadhog has been amazing. He's been dominant. I'll run Pharmacy, have someone on my team run Roadhog, someone on my team run Lucio, and we'll end up with like a 80% win rate in like mid-diamond or something. Roadhog is a great character for solo queue. However, once you run into the sweaty, high-rank 6 stacks that run Goats, Roadhog doesn't become too viable. Next up, like a Wrecking Ball. I'm not a huge fan of Wrecking Ball because he's useless when he has the flag. However, his ability to get to the flag, his ability to cause chaos, which helps a lot in the capture the flag mode, it still makes him semi-viable. I'll put him in C tier. You don't want him grabbing the flag, that's for sure, but he can still cause or create a ton of space in the backline and help your team take space that they wouldn't be able to otherwise with another tank. Next up is Bastion, another bad character. He's a mobile. He gets dominated by projectiles. He's often not shielded because you're not bunkering down in this game mode. Even if he is getting shielded, enemy team could break the shields because it's post-patch. Shields aren't too strong no more. Bastion is not a good pick. I'll put him F tier, honestly. He's worse than Torb and Sim. Don't pick Bastion, please. Next up, Soldier 76. We'll put him C tier as well. He's mobile, has high damage, has self-sustain. He's not amazing. Like, other people do his job better, don't get me wrong. But you can still lock the legs every now and then and dominate with him. Like I said, high damage. If you find someone separate from the team, you'll probably win that 1v1. Flag carrier is not a good flag carrier. Can't sprint with a flag. But you can provide cover fire, provide zoning. His ultimate's pretty bad, we all know this. But I still think he's C tier, better than Doomfist, better than Winston, but not quite better than Pharmacy. Next up is Zen. Now, yeah, obviously Zen can be running Goats, and he most likely is. However, outside of Goats, I don't think he has any play. Whereas all these 5 characters that are in the A tier, when they're outside of Goats, they can see at least a little bit. Whereas Lisa sees a ton. I don't think Zenyatta sees enough to be considered A tier. Put him B tier because of his prevalence in Goats. However, he's not useful anywhere else. Next up is Genji. I'm going to put him, Tracer, and Reaper all in the same kind of territory. They're not good flag carriers. They're good flankers. If you're good at the character, you could kind of carry games by getting kills. You don't want to grab the flag. You just want to capitalize on the chaos that your team's creating. Kill stuff with that chaos. Your team takes a flag back. Next up is Ana. I'll put her in D tier. Here's why. She's a mobile. She right clicks the scope. She's even more mobile. She's not great at brawling compared to the other supports, Brig, Lucio, Moira, blah blah blah. She's just not a great pick in capture the flag. Purple is great still, don't get me wrong. Like, anti-nade is still a great ability. However, it's not enough to move her anywhere above the D tier. Next up is Junkrat. Now, personally, I'm a Junkrat fanatic. However, I think he is bad in this game mode. Enough to put him in E tier? If there was a tier between D and E, I would put him in there. Because not quite as bad as Sim and Torb, but he's not quite as good as either of these. Why is Junkrat bad? Well, he's very counterable, and capture the flag counters are, I think, a little more important than in comp. Now, Junkrat, sure, he could kind of, area denial. However, the enemy has infinite time, not infinite time in this game mode, but they have a ton of time in this game mode to get to the route they want to go and take that route. So if Junkrat's denying one area, enemy can kind of reposition, push that way. Now, Junkrat is good against Goats. Like, he does a decent bit of damage to it. He can keep distance, poke, poke, poke. It's not amazing against it, don't get me wrong. Like, he won't single-handedly win you a Goats game. But he's not the worst pick. Matter of fact, I'm moving him up to D tier. just because of how decent he is against you know, bad goats. Next up is Sigma. I have literally never seen Sigma played in this game mode. I don't know where to put him. Let me just do some, you know, brainstorming. He's not good enough to be goats. Not good enough as pharmacy. Probably. I don't know where he'd go. Man, let's put him in D tier. I wouldn't say he's as good as BAP or Soldier or Ball or whatever. He still has a place. I think every tank can be above Sim, Torb, and Bastion, you know? I think all these tanks can be at least a little useful, whereas these characters are kind of doo-doo. They promote a more defensive playstyle, which isn't the best for Capture the Flag. However, if you have a 2-flag lead, you might want to swap to them, bunker down, poke the enemy before they can even get close to your flag. Not the most viable playstyle because enemies can cut LOS pretty effectively, but I could see it working in lower ranks decently. Now, these next 5 characters I'm kind of having trouble ranking because Widow doesn't seem great in this mode, but then you have some God Widows who can like dominate and carry. So I'll put her mid tier. I'll put her C tier. Just the Widow one tricks, they could do their job, you know what I mean? Like, a Widow one trick would still get kills in Capture the Flag. However, Widow herself is not the best Capture the Flag character. We'll move her down to D tier. Now, Sombra's ult is basically a free flag. If you get EMP 4 per people, that's enough to get a flag. However, what she's doing in between that time, when she gets an EMP and when she doesn't, that's kind of useless. Health packs aren't too prevalent in this game mode. She is almost maps. She is low damage. She's often out of the fight, so I don't think she is as good as Tracer, Reaper, Genji. I don't think she's as bad as Sim and Torb. We'll put her in D tier. I mean, when I was making like a mock draft of this, I wasn't thinking, or a mock tier list, I wasn't thinking there would be this many characters in D tier. Because last time I ended up putting like 10 or 15 in C tier. Speaking of C tier, we'll put McCree up there as well. Matter of fact, yeah, we'll keep him C tier. Not quite as good as Pharmacy. Technically, he counters it, whatever. McCree's good in these Capture the Flag, King of the Hill kind of scenarios. However, he has no mobility, not a great flag carrier, doesn't really provide much damage for the team compared to something like Pharmacy. So we'll put him C tier. So lastly, we have Ashe in the D tier and then Hanzo in C tier. And here's why. Again, snipers are not great in this game mode. Long range marksmen, not great in this game mode. However, there's always those one tricks that can dominate games. And Hanzo and Ashe, you know, someone has good aim with when either of those two characters, it's over. They'll be getting kills. They'll create a bigger difference than any, you know, any Mei or any single Zarya can make. However, team environment, I don't think they're that strong. I think Ghost just beats them out. So, in the end, Lucio was S tier, dominant everywhere. A tier, might as well just rename this, honestly. Goats tier, you know the vibes. B tier is characters that do pretty well in the game mode, except for Zen is kind of goats only. C tier is characters that have their role, they do their role well, but they have like big flaws, such as Hammond's inability to carry the flag, and Baptiste's lack of mobility. D tier is characters that aren't great at flag carrying, and they're not great at doing much for the team. Like, the whole defensive playstyle of these tanks not the best. Sniper's not the best. Sombra's inability to do anything for 3-4 fights. Junkrat's lack of, kill potential, kind of just area denial. And these characters just get melted. E tier's characters that honestly just make the game a 5v6 because they tend to sit back. Turrets are not the best in this game mode. They just sit back at the base, either base or midfield. They're not going to be pushing up to the spawn. Not the most useful. And then Bastion is Bastion. Let's hit him with one of those. Don't pick Bastion, please. I'm sure obviously someone can make it work out there. I probably could make it work up to like Plat or Diamond or something. That doesn't mean it's, better than the other characters though. So, that's the end of the tier list. If you guys have any comments, questions, let me know. However, I'm going to end the video there. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.